We are a co-equal force of government, or at least we are supposed to be. And as long as I have breath, I will use my voice to resist a federal government that attempts to bully, direct, and control this state or any state.
Indiana's state senate has rejected a voting map backed by Donald Trump. And with that decision, a quiet but powerful signal has been sent deep into the heart of American politics. This isn't just a local legislative dispute. It's a moment that raises a larger question for 2024. When a Republican-led Senate says no to a Trump-approved plan, what does that say about power, loyalty, and the future of the party? Redistricting is one of the most influential forces in American democracy. It determines which voices are amplified, which races are competitive, and which outcomes seem almost inevitable before a single vote is cast. That's why voting maps are rarely rejected once leadership lines up behind them, and that's exactly what makes this moment stand out. The proposed map carried Trump's approval, signaling support from the most influential figure in modern Republican politics. But inside Indiana's Senate, resistance formed. Lawmakers raised concerns about fairness, legal vulnerability, and long-term consequences, and instead of falling in line, they voted it down. This wasn't a protest from Democrats. This wasn't pressure from outside groups. This was a decision made within the Republican Party itself. Supporters of the rejection argue that credibility matters. They say voting maps should withstand legal scrutiny, public trust, and demographic reality, not just political advantage. In their view, pushing through a controversial map could backfire, triggering lawsuits, voter backlash, and long-term damage to confidence in elections. Critics see it differently. They argue this was a missed opportunity, that redistricting is inherently political, and refusing to act aggressively is the same as surrendering leverage. To them, rejecting a Trump-approved plan looks less like principle and more like hesitation. So what's really happening here? For years, Trump's influence shaped Republican decision-making across the country. Endorsements mattered. Opposition carried risks. But Indiana's vote suggests that influence may no longer be automatic in every room, on every issue. That doesn't mean Trump's power is gone, far from it, but it does suggest that some Republican leaders are weighing institutional stability against personal allegiance and choosing differently than they might have in the past. Ask yourself this: is this independence or fragmentation? Is it responsible governance or a sign of internal weakness heading into a critical election year? Because history shows that divided parties struggle, but history also shows that blind loyalty can alienate moderates and independents, the voters who decide close races. Indiana senators appeared to be betting that voters care about fairness and legitimacy, not just partisan wins. They are betting that credibility will matter more than compliance. But will voters agree? As this decision ripples outward, party leaders nationwide are watching closely. If there is little backlash, more resistance may follow elsewhere. If there is punishment, silence may return quickly. That's what makes this moment so important. It's not about one map. It's about whether Republican politics is still defined by a single center of gravity, or whether that center is slowly shifting. Stay with us. In the next part, we'll examine how this rejection could affect the 2024 electoral landscape, Trump's broader influence, and the balance between power and trust in American elections. Before we continue, we want to hear from you. Do you think Indiana lawmakers made the right call, or should party unity come first?
The rejection of a Trump-approved voting map in Indiana may seem procedural, but its implications are anything but small. Because when internal resistance becomes visible, it changes how power is calculated and how future decisions are made. Across the country, Republican leaders are paying close attention, not just to Trump's response, but to voter reaction. Will there be outrage? Will there be indifference? Or will there be quiet approval from voters who want less conflict and more stability? Behind closed doors, strategists are asking difficult questions. Can the Republican Party enter 2024 unified if disagreements like this become public? Or does unity built on silence carry its own risks? Indiana's Senate appears to believe that institutional credibility is worth defending, even if it creates tension. They argue that elections must look fair to be accepted, that voting maps should invite participation, not suspicion, and that short-term advantage can come at long-term cost. But politics rarely rewards patience. Trump has built his influence on loyalty, clarity, and confrontation. If he chooses to challenge Indiana lawmakers publicly, the pressure will increase, not just in Indiana, but everywhere Republicans consider defying his preferences. And that leads to a deeper question. Is the Republican Party still operating as a single force, or is it beginning to fracture along lines of strategy rather than ideology? For voters, this matters deeply. Redistricting shapes representation for years. It influences whose voices are heard and whose are diluted. When lawmakers argue over maps, they're ultimately arguing over how democracy functions on the ground. Many Americans already distrust the political system. They worry about fairness, transparency, and legitimacy. Decisions like Indiana's rejection are framed by some as a step toward restoring trust and by others as political miscalculation. Which framing resonates will help define 2024, because elections are not just about candidates, they are about confidence. Confidence that the rules are fair, confidence that outcomes are earned, and confidence that institutions serve voters, not personalities. Indiana's decision forces the Republican Party to confront that balance openly. So ask yourself this: should lawmakers prioritize winning under the current rules or protecting the credibility of the rules themselves? And when those goals conflict, which one matters more? Those questions are no longer theoretical. They are playing out in real time. As the election approaches, moments like this will multiply. Internal disagreements, strategic recalculations, public signals of resistance or loyalty. The outcome won't be decided by one vote in one state, but this vote may be remembered as an early indicator of where the political winds are shifting. We want to hear from you. Is Indiana's rejection a sign of responsible leadership or a warning sign of party division? Comment below, stay engaged, and keep watching, because how power is exercised today will shape how democracy functions tomorrow.